And
I'm Sorry.
That's Booby.
And Colby. He's still here with us though. And Ghosty. Chip is back there.
I got something in my eye.
You've been having something in your eye for the past couple days. They keep seeing you poking at it.
Yep.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I'm in absolute misery, but hey. 6 a.m. Life is Beautiful.
This is from Sin and Glory. I really like that name, Sin and Glory.
Vin and Sori, Sin and Glory. Yeah, it's yikes, the Heroin Diary soundtrack. 6 a.m. Wasn't there a guy? Look at the way it's spelled. See, I'm in my escape room thing.
Oh, I know. I've been doing that too.
I think that's probably Nikki Sixx. Anyway, for timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up in Middle America with Vin and Sori.
Also, we have a couple of our villagers that are in need of some help if anybody is able to help them, and that is going to be in the description of this video. You can just click on the link and it'll give you more of the information.
We're going to do that every month. We're going to adopt a villager every month. We've got a slot for September. As always, patrons, if you channel your dollaroos for a month from us to that particular sharing opportunity, then you get to keep your alliance stuff and all that good jazz. Mm-hmm. So also, you still maintain your spot.
If anybody's been waiting to jump on Patreon and you just haven't gotten around to it, and you do decide to do it, I set something up so it will send you a message letting you know how to get into the alliances. So can you let me know if that's working? Because I'm very curious. So if anybody signs on within the next whatever, just let me know if that worked for you, so that way I can make sure that everybody's getting what they want. So yeah, anyway.
This is from the Sin and Glory has an intro too, right?
Yeah. Okay. Life is Beautiful.
Run by the big homie Chris Culp.
Who's much more alive than this Culp.
Well, his Madden career that's pretty much
oh, babe.
Because I kicked you. We stomped you out, Chris. Yeah, Rachel was there. I was like, yo, Rachel, get your boy. Get your boy. She's like, well, he came back, so it wasn't shameful, she says. That's a
sorry.
Wink. That's a wink from me, Culpy, to you, eh?
Yeah.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
I kicked your ass, embarrassed you in front of your girl.
He's the superior player. All right, ready?
Life is Beautiful, 6 a.m. Let's go.
Go. I'm a fan. Yeah.
Whoa.
I like this.
You can't quit until you try. You can't live until you die. You can't learn to tell the truth until you learn to lie. Can't breathe until you choke. You gotta laugh when you're the joke. There's nothing like a funeral to make you feel alive. Just open your eyes. Just open your eyes and see that life is beautiful. Will you swear on your life that no one will cry at my I know some things that you don't. I've done things that you won't. There's nothing like a trail of blood to find your way back home. I was waiting for my hearse. What came next was so much worse. It took a funeral to make me feel alive. Just open your eyes. Just open your eyes and see that life is beautiful. Will you
No, I'm not gonna swear that. Culpy, if you died, I would cry at your funeral. But you're not gonna die. So, there's that. You gotta stay alive.
I wish I knew who suggested this one.
I need somebody to beat up on him, man.
Yeah, but you don't even know that that was Culpy. It could have been someone from his group. Okay, whoever picked this song, friggin' unbelievable song. It's a really good one. I really like it.
I guess he wrote that. He OD'd on heroin and died. But he made it. He made it out.
Oh.
He's alive.
Oh.
Speaking of which, I got permission to read this.
Wow, that's crazy.
From one of our newest villagers, and I'm pretty sure he's in an alliance. My buddy Raymond, and it's very, very fitting, considering the thingamajig. So I'm just gonna read it to you, beautiful people.
This is so good.
What?
I just really like this song. Musically, it just had a real good kick to it. It had movement to it. There was like energy, but then there was also something kind of in it that like was kind of trippy. But then lyrically, I liked what we talked about, which, as soon as you pull that up, when you get done, I'm going to get into what I thought about the lyrics.
Yeah, Ray says, the story goes, I was trying to get clean and my girl had just let me in the house, and stupid me went and did a bag of dope, and boom, dead on her kitchen floor. She called 911. They saved me. Then I was out of the house again, strung out and living in a train station. Then I found your vids, and all I did was watch the two of you do nothing but talk sense into not giving up. So between the music, the good talk, and my family, I am clean. So thank you very much for everything you guys do. And if you guys need anything, just let me know. I'm here for you, just like you're here for me. P.S. I want to be in an alliance. And I don't mind if you read it on air. I hope it'll help someone else.
Isn't that crazy?
That's the big homie, Ray. So shout out to Ray. We love you, buddy.
You know what? That story was in my dream last night.
Was it?
Yeah. I saw him sitting on a bench, and then I saw him with his phone, and then like watching our videos, and I was like standing there like watching. Well, because you know how like there's a sense, it's kind of weird sounding, but like there's a sense in which when we shoot these videos, like you almost feel like you're with the people that are going to watch it.
100%.
Sounds strange because like, but
100%.
It feels like we are, and so like maybe it's because like we really do love you guys. So and the thing is, when you have our mindset about people being made in the image of God and every single person has value, then like there's no person that's not important. And so we know that however many views, let's say we get 10,000 views on a video, that 10,000 important people watched our video. Right. And hopefully, we're encouraged by something or whatever. And so like this guy was telling us how, we helped him get out of a really rough spot, and that's like super, like, that's like an honor to us to be able to be part of that. So. Yeah,
and it's vice versa. The last fireside we did was simply just because I was having a bad couple days.
Yep. Yep.
And it's you know what else is interesting is like, it's a concern of mine because I want to balance it out. One of the things I get concerned about is like, okay, like we have a virtual relationship with these people, but what about like the actual human beings that you're around? Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's unhealthy to only have virtual relationships.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I think you should have relationships with the actual human beings around you. However, the issue is, I think we kind of are running into this situation. There are people like in this world who are supposed to be loyal and supposed to be ride with you or whatever, who can't bring themselves to do it. And then at the same time, we have people in our community. Our community, it's not just a metal community. Like, it's a certain type of personality type. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of, and it doesn't matter like where on the planet they are. Mm-hmm. Like my buddy Ian came with the big assist yesterday. Love you, buddy. Thank you very much, sir. My man Ian came out with some facts.
Yeah.
He's like, well, if I could just speak for a little bit.
I wish I could have heard it, but Orion was not having it.
I'll show you. I'll show you on the replay.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. So it's like, on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, I have relationships with people here. But at the same time, it's like, and then of course you have Colby, who actually found somebody in our virtual environment.
Oh, they're saying that now?
And then, well, I didn't mention the person's name. So I'm trying to respect, the situation. but it was a virtual. But then it's
Oh, I know. I know.
Now they can actually see each other in the real world. So,
Yep.
which I love stories like that.
I know.
I'll always love stories like that.
I know. Yes.
The last time I did a wedding, I'm like, I'll never do a wedding again. I was like, well, make an exception.
I might.
I might make an exception. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's something I'm still trying to figure out. But anyway, we're very, very grateful that you guys are here. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I think he OD'd, but he made it out, which is this was written in 2007. It's 2019 now. I'm pretty sure the big homie's still with us, so it's a good story.
Yeah.
A lot of times I get fatigued by the horribleness of the opioid crisis.
I know.
Yeah, the opioid crisis is pretty crazy. Our governor one time tried to make it so that all paramedics, they carried Narcan, and you jam them with Narcan, and it and he was basically saying, well, if the people know that we have Narcan, then it's gonna encourage them to OD. Like, what? It's like, how far removed are you from this actual crisis? That's not the mind of an addict.
No.
You weirdo.
No.
And then of course one of those people we used to work with at that rehab home. Mm-hmm. I didn't know this. He put up a sign. He was like, he had a little thing on Facebook. He's like, I got revived 11 times. Narcan saved my life 11 times. He's he's been clean for like 4 or 5 years now, but I mean, it's insane.
Wow.
And of course, you remember those people I met on the street that whole time I was arguing with God, and I was like, leave me alone, da-da-da-da. One of them went to jail for murder that he didn't commit. And then the girl, remember I talked about the girl, and she was like...
I know.
Yeah, she died. She was ODing in a car. Somebody called the cops. The boyfriend ran up on the car, saw her ODing. He had the Narcan in his pocket. And the cops wouldn't let him go in there. So he had to watch his girlfriend die.
That makes me so angry.
Well, that was one of the real times when I think about police and things like that, and because of the racial elements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was these are two white as white people that you can be, but they were homeless, and they were vulnerable, and they were smelly, and they were basically cast away by society.
Yeah.
So this girl, and the guy had it in his hand. I could not imagine that. I could not imagine that. And as a cop, how do you not know that Narcan is going to save this girl's life?
Exactly.
Honestly, I couldn't even talk to the guy after that. When he told me that, I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. I couldn't even talk to him anymore, because it was just, the way that I eventually was able to, whatever, but that was a tough, that's probably the worst heroin story I've heard.
It makes me extremely angry.
So when he was saying, swear on your life no one will cry at my funeral, is, I was thinking about that girl, and it's a pretty crazy epidemic. When you think about what's going on in our country between the gun stuff and the opioid crisis, and it's man, and then you combine that, just the overall mental illness that's happening in our country. We're for whatever reason, and I'm sure BM Fan has a real, or maybe Simon has some good breakdown of the correlation between the stringent capitalism and the corporatism that will that stuff has blowback. I really believe that.
It's crazy too when you think about sometimes I think about how does this happen that somebody has an addiction issue and then you throw them in jail for it.
Right.
That is so confusing to me.
Right.
They obviously need rehab, not jail.
Right.
To me, jail is you murdered somebody, you stole, different things like that. I can see, but if somebody has an addiction to a drug, I just don't, especially because in our country, you know, a lot of times people say that they started out because, you know, they had a toothache or something like that. So it's not like they started out by some criminal activity, but it was just, you know, they started getting more and more addicted, and then, you know, you justify more and more things when you're in certain states of mind. So I don't understand our country not doing something else to help rehabilitate these people rather than throwing them into a jail. Like, that's just confusing to me.
Yeah.
Especially when people are getting thrown in jail over weed, and then now weed is like being legalized, and so it's like now it's completely fine, and you're walking through the mall and there's a display where they're selling weed, and it's like people were going to jail for this. Like,
oh yeah,
it's just wild to me.
Yeah, and you know, like it. You can't live until you die. You know, it's kind of like he basically died, and then you start seeing the value of life, you know, which is great. But like I said, Kevin had 11 times. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do you play with your life 11 times? Mm-hmm. And then an outsider goes off and says, hey, you know, I'm not having all my medics carry Narcan because it's going to encourage people. It's like, you have no idea the mindset of an addict. Like, you don't get it.
And I think that his story is important too, to say that, you know, like, you might have a family member or somebody that you really care about deeply, and they keep doing it over and over, and you're like, when are they going to learn? Like, they're never going to learn. Like, it took 11 times, but he did. He's out of that now, you know? So don't lose hope, even though the situation seems hopeless, because, you know.
And don't you think to yourself, well, shoot, he made it out 11 times, and as long as I got one of my friends that has Narcan, then I'll be okay. That's not always true either.
Right.
A lot of those guys come out brain damaged and all the rest of it. So, like, they're, you know, it's such a tough balance between, you know, how you message this stuff.
I know, because there's plenty of people that, you know, they went back at it and then they died because they overdosed or they whatever. So you don't know, like, if you'll survive this next bout of drugs that you're about to get into. So, you know, it's better just get the help and stop waiting until next time, or let me just do it. You know what I noticed that they said a lot too? A lot of times they would do it because they were celebrating. So they would say, you know, I was clean for X amount of time, so I celebrated by giving myself a little bit, like, and then that just... Yeah, well, that was such a strange concept to me. Like,
what happens is, like, your mind works against you.
Yeah.
To justify going back there over and over again. That's the nature of addiction. Is your mind works against you and creates. Oh, we got to celebrate. I got to reward myself. Oh, this terrible tragedy happened, so I got to give myself a break here. But at the end of the day, I think that
I'm gonna drink on any day that ends in Y.
Right. The message though, life is beautiful, you know, like the whole "don't cry at my funeral" thing is I think he's trying to say, look, man, you know, I enjoyed my life, you know, don't make it a horrible whatever. But
where did he say don't cry at my funeral?
That's part of will you swear in your life that no one will cry at my funeral?
So he wants them not to cry?
Right.
Okay, I didn't understand that part. All the other stuff made sense to me, but...
Yeah, he doesn't want anybody to cry because life is beautiful, you know, and life is beautiful. It really, really is. It's, you know, the more spins you have around the rock, the more you realize that a lot of life is just about what you decide to focus on. You know, and you have to balance out focusing on positivity to keep yourself at a certain level, while at the same time not blinding yourself to other people's suffering so that you can help and relieve their suffering. So it's a real big balancing act. And obviously for me, it's like, when I look at human suffering, I'm like, we got to do something about that. All the while in the back of my head saying, God's got a plan, we're going to work this out, it's going to come out well in the end. But, good Lord, heroin is such a terrible, you know, I don't know why currently in our current political milieu that the opioid crisis isn't front and center. I don't know if in other places, if the opioid crisis is not as pronounced as it is maybe in the Northeast.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've heard Trump talk about New Hampshire. I've heard, you know, obviously in Maine we have it. So I don't know if if what's happening, even those guys after the corn show.
That's what I was thinking of right now.
They're
Yeah.
Boston, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a northeastern issue and the rest of the country is kind of okay. But
I thought they were in New Hampshire, but anyway.
if it's as ubiquitous as it is over here, I don't understand why that's not like front and center one of the 5 major issues for the Democrats or the Republicans in this election, and I'm not really hearing a lot about it. Of course, a lot of that would probably be subsumed in Medicare for all.
Well,
But I haven't heard anybody that's come up with a comprehensive plan to deal with this problem.
Well, I don't know if if you say, do you know anyone that has been affected by cancer? Like
Right.
most people know somebody that was affected by cancer. I'm not sure if most people have known someone affected by this opioid crisis. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't know how widespread it is or how again, it might be more, remember we were talking to Head and he was saying that oh no, it wasn't Head actually, it was Fielding was saying from Korn. He was talking about how people are on different things, even in the really, really nice places. It's not opioid, it's something else.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Pills.
Yeah, something else. So I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just not sure if it's something that affects everybody or if we're realizing that it comes in so many different packages.
And people look at cancer differently than they look at somebody affected by the opioid
Absolutely.
crisis. Because
There's a certain judgment that goes toward people that are,
Exactly. Nobody, and I want to be very, very, very careful and say that I understand that I lost a good friend to cancer, so he didn't do anything.
My uncle.
He was a very healthy guy, didn't smoke,
My uncle, same thing.
And so it randomly happened to him versus when you look at somebody that's in the, trapped in the opioid stuff, they did it. So it's kind of their fault. And so like you said, there's like this judgment that goes along with, and to me, okay, I understand that, I get it, but the fact of the matter is they made a bad decision. They made a couple bad decisions, and then now they're chemically dependent on this thing.
Right.
And so, however you got it, and there's carcinogenic things that people put in their body, like cigarettes and things like that. Like, I just think that, let's get past the judgment, the incessant need to judge why a person's in trouble, and let's find ways to help these people.
Sometimes I feel like that people do that just so that way they can alleviate any guilt that they may feel that they're not doing anything to help the problem. You know what I mean? If you could put the blame on the person that's sick, then you can say, well, it's not my problem. Like, what am I supposed to do about that? So you made that choice, so that's on you. Instead of realizing that we are all, it's one giant world filled with all people, we all share the same blood, we're all human beings made in the image of God. So then you have to say, well, they have value and they're obviously in a very, very difficult place. How can I help this person? Like, what can we do? But, I think we just separate ourselves from the situation. And then sometimes it's forced into your face by, it's a family member or, somebody that you deeply care about. And especially if you lose them, like, the hurt that runs from that is so deep because it's like, if somebody gets in a car accident, you're like, well, what could we have, you know what I mean? But when it's like somebody's dying of like a drug overdose, you're like, what if I had gotten them rehab? What if they had been at a different, you know what I mean? I guess probably a car accident can kind of be similar to that, but but you don't feel like that you're personally responsible, like as much as if somebody overdoses, it's like, well, could I have done something? Should I have, whatever? I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got a family member that
didn't need to end that way.
I've got a family member that, we had a conversation. He's like, yeah, I'm going to get serious. I'll call you tomorrow. We can set up going to rehab. That was, a week ago?
I think it was a week and a half.
So, I mean,
No.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But at the end of the day, life is beautiful. We're in a sinful world and terrible things are happening to people all over the world. But at the same time, that one, she was she was getting pimped out by her boyfriend and all that and all this, and she OD'd and they were putting RIPs on her Facebook and all the rest of it. And now I'm seeing she's got her daughter. Did you see the latest picture? She's got her daughter and all that.
I love it. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh my god.
So it's like, if she would have died, like her friends would have said that.
She was getting all dressed up.
Once it got published, we've got the local news that has a Facebook page, and they publish this stuff when these people die, and the comments are horrible. I don't even know why they allow comments for statements like that, because it's local, and you just lost somebody, and now you're seeing all these people judging the person when they're dead. It's insane. But life is beautiful.
But it was cute. I saw her. She was all dressed up. She was ready to go for her first interview for an apartment and stuff like that.
Oh,
like,
man.
It was. I was like, oh.
That.
Yeah.
Because it looked pretty terrible for a while.
They said she was going to die, and she
well,
had put so much strain on her heart from the stuff that she did. Just.
And it wasn't the first. We sent people down to pray with her and all this, and it was looking pretty bleak, and then boom, she's out. She's got a daughter. Her daughter has one of those terrible little headband thingies that you used to put on sale that cuts off their circulation, and he could.
But they're so cute.
And he could. Mother will do that. So. You just gotta it just depends on what Paul talks about it, sorrowful and always rejoicing. You gotta, and that's a really interesting concept where Paul says sorrowful yet always rejoicing, because he doesn't say always sorrowful and always rejoicing, which is a paradox. That's not necessarily a contradiction. What it says is sorrowful yet always rejoicing.
Yep.
Which means that the sorrow is circumstantial, but the rejoicing is a permanent state that you should have as a Christian.
Right.
And it's like, so Paul is eminently realistic. I'm sorrowful, yet always rejoicing, optimistic. And I think that's the secret.
Yep.
To dealing with it is like you look at situations and you go, man, this is terrible. This girl died in a car. I mean, she could have been saved in that moment, and it didn't happen. And so then I'm sorrowful, but then I'm like, you know what? Maybe if somebody hears that story, they're not gonna play with their life.
Yep.
And so maybe somebody's gonna have another day on the planet because of her terrible story. And God loves her more than I do, and so I entrust her to Him. But so you're sorrowful, but at the same time, you're rejoicing that I believe that our God is good, and that He has good plans, and that He's gracious and compassionate.
A post by this person that was a Christian, and then they're. I think she's atheist now. She doesn't believe in anything about God. Like, it's just all ridiculous to her. And so I'm not sure what she believes about the afterlife, but she certainly doesn't believe anybody goes for some eternal whatever after they die. And she had somebody very close to her that had passed away, and when that person passed away, she was basically saying she was basically trying to communicate that it's hard to think of this person as just not existing anymore, because they were such a wonderful person and who they were, and so to think that they don't exist anymore at all is almost impossible to think about, because it's how could someone so important and so recognizing the value of this person, how could they just not exist anymore? And I was just thinking even though she doesn't believe the Christian thought anymore, it's still in us, this idea that there has to be something after. How can a person just go and then be completely gone and there's nothing left of them, nothing but just what's left in there.
Yeah, and even if you're not a believer, it's how can you definitively say, look, we don't know where consciousness originated from. I'm speaking from a completely natural, because I can, I go back and forth between both worlds. We don't know the origin of consciousness. Consciousness is an amazingly, it's a metaphysical exercise. And many of us have a hard time even defining the term consciousness. So it's if you don't know the origin of consciousness, how can you say that at death consciousness is completely lost? That's crazy to me. And it's funny because when you're unconscious, you're still dreaming.
Right.
And we don't even know about that.
Right.
So it's when Peterson's people are well, that's your mind explaining stuff to you and you're working stuff out in your mind. But you're not controlling that. So Peterson's well, what does that mean?
Yeah,
is the mind
exactly.
some autonomous entity outside of you and all the rest of it? And he's trying to put all this together, and he's talking about, Jung and all this, who could never figure it out. It's because you have a soul, Jordan Peterson. That's why. But anyway, no matter what you believe or don't believe, life is beautiful, and focus on the positive.
Yeah.
And focus on, if you see somebody hurting, you know,
Help them.
like Muhammad said, even a smile is charity.
This is a 10 for me.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, it's a good song. And it's a very good. Song. Period. Like the way it's constructed and the melody and the it's a sing along song. It's actually a very, very good song.
I want to know
like
who
it a lot.
suggested it.
Yeah, who suggested that song?
This would be a fun one to sing in the car on a road trip heading to like a little
Open
vacation.
your eyes. Yeah, our California road trip.
Yeah.
If we didn't have any kids, I would take you on a California road trip.
That would be so fun.
Yeah. That would be
Do it
epic.
when we're old.
Nah. We can do it in 2 more years, starting to be 50. All right.
Just
What do you give
rent
the
one of
song?
those
Give it a
big
10?
RV things.
I give it a 9.8.
10.
Good song. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.
You can't quit until you try. You can't live until you die. You can't learn to tell the truth